This podcast is brought to you by the award-winning prop firm, Crest.
To make $2,000, $3,000 a day, that's not normal. People wake up in the morning, they go to work, they have to attend meetings, which is fine. That's what they chose. But I mean, it's not normal to sit in your bed and then take a trade and make that amount of money. So yeah, that's why I invested everything I have into this. I also started a logistics company where I bought trucks and I started running trucks. But based on how much I've seen or how much I saw, how quick it was to get money based on Forex, based on the signals and stuff, I decided to invest my full time into that but the amount of work I was putting into other things I was doing wasn't adding up to what I was making based on Forex, what I could make on Forex in such a short space of time. That's when I sold up my trucks and logistics company, and then I was using those funds. Master structure. Structure is very, very important. For me, once I identified structure, I saw a huge difference in my trading.
Yes, folks, we've got the Marcelino FX interview coming up in a sec. And we also shot a video afterwards where he breaks down his trading strategy. Really simple to follow, so you want to check that out afterwards. Also, great news here. We've got a new broker sponsor, Black Bull Markets, in my country as well, New Zealand. Their ad will be coming up in a second. Please go pay them a visit and see what they're all about. All right, folks, enough from me. Let's get on with the show. Crest is an award-winning prop firm that funds traders with up to $2 million and offers generous profit splits up to 90%. So one thing that really sets Crest apart is their no minimum trading days requirement on their challenge and verification stages. On top of that, traders who successfully pass the challenge and verification stages are eligible to receive a bonus payout of up to $30,000 on top of their funded stage profit split payout on performance. And be sure to use promo code TradingNut, all one word, to get 10% off your next challenge. Click the link in the description below or the card above to find out more. All right, folks, here we are on Trading Nut. We've got Marcelino FX in the house all the way over there in South Africa. So welcome to the show, Marcelino.
Thank you so much, man.
Hey, look, today we're going to get to hear your story, your trading story, which is, it's not a long story. So in terms of, it's not a long story, there's not that much in terms of your length of trading, but I think people are going to be quite impressed with how fast you're able to go from newbie trader to consistent and how you progressed up through the funding prop firms and all that sort of stuff and onto trading your own capital. So let's start off with how you got into it.
So I basically got into it. I was in campus and I was working in retail, and there'd be a lot of young traders that would come in, and I'd see them dabbling on their phone saying they're making money off Forex and stuff. And at first I didn't believe it. I thought, no, this is just a scam. It wouldn't work. But they would consistently come into the store and consistently buy stuff. And that's when I first heard about Forex. And that's when I was intrigued by it.
Okay, and so what were your first steps after that? Where did you go to learn more, to do more?
So when I first heard about it, it took some time before I actually started really putting my money down or like funding accounts and stuff like that, because I always was so skeptical about it, especially at the time and especially now as well. There's so many scams and stuff going on, so you always just don't believe what is possible. So it took like some time, and then I was referred to a broker. I think my first broker was XM, if I'm not mistaken, because they gave like a $30 free, like $30 for free if you sign up. If you sign up with them. So I started with that, and that's when I was just like guessing, buying, selling, joining free signal groups, thinking I could make a lot of money from just that. And then, that's when I saw that it is possible to make money. And then I would start paying for signal groups. And I'd take losses, I'd take wins, but when I would win, it'll be like so fascinating that I can make money just off my phone. That's when I started really believing that, no, this is real.
And so just to give some context around that, I mean, what were the sort of wins that how much money were you making doing these free signal groups and the paid signal groups? And
so when I first started, it wasn't a lot. Like I'd make like $100. If I'd lose like $200. But the fact that I was seeing that, no, it is possible to make money, most of the time I'd lose more, because even if I was given a stop loss, I would not use the stop loss in hopes that price will come back. So even though I would lose more, but the fact that there's times where I would make money and I would withdraw the money and see the money, it always kept me there.
Okay, so you migrated on from signals to what next?
So from signals, I did signals for a long time because I started and then I lost money. And then as I progressed in life, because at that time when I first started, as I mentioned, I was in campus and I was working in retail. I then got my degree, and once I had my degree, I was working for Discovery, selling insurance, and then that's when I had money to invest in, like buying proper signals and things like that, with no knowledge at all. Right? So I put money down, buy signals, monthly subscriptions, etc. Because I always thought it was very hard to learn, and also just to like be extremely smart. So I never ever believed that I would be able to understand the charts and the candlesticks. So I'd always just buy signals, because I could afford it at that time. And that's when I started to see like of course, my returns getting much bigger as well in terms of like the profits. I was still losing money because I'm not using stop losses and stuff like that. But then that's when I saw, okay, this can be really, really profitable for me. And yeah, after blowing accounts, coming back in, out of the market with no knowledge at all, that is, that's when I decided to like really learn this. And then, yeah, that's when I started investing in courses and stuff like that.
Right. So what was that learning curve like?
It was very, very difficult because I went through a lot of courses, and not everything works for every trader. So in some courses, you just learn supports and resistance and trend lines, which I'm not saying does not work. It's just that it never worked for me. I needed more than that. So I did so many courses that I basically gathered up information from all the different courses, and I found something that works for me.
I mean, are you able to give some context around how much you spent on courses and even maybe list a few of the ones that you found most useful?
Okay, the course that I found most useful was definitely AstroFX. I've done their course and I've done QBank's course, Wall Street Academy. So those courses, I found that that really showed me how to understand the market, read price action. But with that, the courses were online, so it's pre-recorded courses. Now, the problem with pre-recorded courses is that you can understand the concept of what is being told, but the application is another story, you understand? So a lot of the times, everyone understands support, resistance, everyone understands how to use a film, but the way we apply it is where the problem comes in. And if no one is there correcting you, you won't know where you're going wrong or what you're doing wrong. So that for me is what took a lot of time, like a couple of months for me to actually sit down, go over it over and over and over and over again until I knew how to apply everything correctly.
Is that like, for example, somebody says, or a mentor says, right, you want to draw a support level here or a zone here, and you don't quite know why they've drawn it in that spot. And you're like, I sort of can see why they're drawing it, or they might draw it one way in one area, and then they change the way they do it in the next, and you're like, well, that doesn't work. Is that the sort of thing?
100%, exactly that.
It's such a common issue. I swear this used to be me back in the day.
Yeah. So yeah, that was a very big problem.
And how did you overcome that? But that particular sort of minute problem, which I think a lot of people probably face. How did you overcome it?
It took, and that's what took time. Because as I said, on the courses, I could see what they're doing and I understood what they're doing, right? But of course, when people are explaining, 90% of the time, they're explaining on something that has already been done in the market, right? Because that's how you basically show what you've seen. So that's what took a lot of time for me, is basically to take those concepts and apply each of them correctly. And I just sat on the charts for hours and hours and hours, and just went over it before go back to the pre-recorded courses, see what they're doing, and then eventually everything clicked.
And can you take us to that moment where everything clicked? I mean, what was that particular moment? And was it based on one or two or three particular courses or something else?
No, I think the two main courses is definitely Wall Street Academy and AstroFX. Of course, I had prior knowledge about like just basic stuff like support and resistance and stuff from other courses. Like I understood what they were, but I think those two courses really brought everything together for me, where everything made sense, because I was adding a whole bunch of different confluences, where before I was only trading off just a trend line, right? So the market could be holistically in a bearish market, right? And I'd look for buys based on a small trend line I see on a 1 minute time frame or stuff like that. I just didn't know how to apply everything correctly. So yeah.
Okay. So you obviously, had this aha moment where things were working well. I mean, what was that particular moment? What was the thing that you did? Was there a moment, or was it just a series of things?
No, it was a moment. It was around like 2020, 2020, around March or so, I think it was. I clearly remember that. And that's just when the pandemic started. So I had a lot of time to stay on the charts because we were on lockdown. And yeah, I remember when everything just came together, I was in disbelief because I know I've been trying for such a long time prior. And then I just started seeing like my stuff play out exactly how I predicted. And that's when I started getting excited about it. And then that's when from there, everything just.
So it was during a live trade or like where you'd sort of said, okay, this is
Yeah,
where
no,
I'm
live
enter
trades,
live trades,
So,
and you were like, oh man, this stuff's playing out. But that you'd done the
yeah,
back testing already to work out that you sort of knew that this is what was going to happen. Okay, right.
100%.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So you got excited and things sort of took off from there. So if you're going to have to sort of tell somebody or teach somebody what you ended up doing to get to that point, how would you go about like saying, okay, look, here's what I did. If you can try and replicate it, these are the steps. What would that be?
My best advice
create a global pandemic is step number one. So you got plenty of time at charts and at home. Sorry, yeah, go
on. I'd say that try and get mentored or taught in a live session, because a trial and error can be very hard. A lot of traders give up during that time. So I think the best thing to do is maybe try and get a mentor that where like you can show your charts and he can correct you if it's wrong, right? Because a support and a resistance is a very simple concept, but if you plot it correctly, a support can quickly become a resistance, right? Now your whole bias of the market changes because now you're under resistance. Of course, price is predicted to fall down. So try and get someone that is going to invest time in you, and also put time or put hours on the chart, even after you are taught. Back testing is the best way to do it. So go back and follow all your steps that you're taught or that you're going over, and just see how many times it did work. And if it didn't, what to look out for. I think that's the best way to do it. But
and how did you go about your back testing?
Well, at that time, I didn't even have the paid trading view. So I just scroll back, and then I just look, okay, there's higher highs, higher lows. There's a support level. Oh, it's lining up nicely with my Fibonacci retracement. Cool, I would have taken this trade. So I kept doing that over and over again. So I saw that this does work, right? Based on what I'm seeing in the past and how price played out. And then I started plotting it based on the current price action. And then I saw that, oh, yes, it is working. And then, yeah, that's basically how it went.
Right. And were you doing much multi-time frame analysis?
Oh, not at all. So most of the time I was doing daily and 4-hour analysis, which I still keep to now. I do scalp a lot, as you did mention, on US30 and stuff. But with currency pairs and stuff, I prefer to stick to my higher time frames. It's less noisy. Of course, I do go down to my lower time frames to get better entries. But if the market is bullish on a higher time frame, I prefer to wait for a buy. So I'll wait for the retracement price to come down, give me bullish structure on a lower time frame after that retracement is done, and then I look to jump into the market.
Right. And when you were, so I mean, this is what intrigues me a lot around the back testing and the multi-time frame and not being able to sort of really do it accurately unless you've got, a really good bit of software, and there are some out there that do it, but even then it's still not the same. What like going from the daily to the 4-hour makes sense. It's probably quite easy to do, but what happens when what sort of gave you the confidence to go to the lower time frames to get a better entry and still have a stop that doesn't get hit, that sort of thing?
So with regards to the lower time frame, that I started when I was very confident in the market. It didn't happen immediately. So when I was first started, when we were speaking about the time when it all clicked, I was basically sticking to my 4-hour time frame and sticking to my daily time frame, I was just waiting for candlestick confirmation at my areas of interest. And once I got candlestick confirmation, that's when I enter. So at that time, I was not going down to lower time frames. Only like once I progressed over the years, that I became more confident in like going down to different time frames and stuff like that.
Okay. And so, like, once you got it, obviously, money had to come into the equation or funding had to come into the equation to get enough to trade on. How did you tackle that? What was the steps you used to get capital?
So I haven't mentioned, but while I was working for Discovery, I also started a logistics company where I bought trucks and I started running trucks. But based on how much I've seen or how much I saw, how quick it was to get money based on Forex, based on the signals and stuff, I decided to like invest my full time into that but the amount of work I was putting into other things I was doing wasn't adding up to what I was making based on Forex, what I could make on Forex in such a short space of time. So that's when I sold up my trucks and logistics company, and then I was using those funds. But of course, most of the funds I blew based on the trial and error. And then I had a bit left and I slowly started building up from there.
Right. Okay. So and it slowly started building up. And then how did you get to the point where you are now? I mean, what were the sort of progressions and milestones you hit?
So I used funded accounts, prop firms. They were a huge help. So FTMO, very huge help to me, because you're spending like in South African rands about like $5,000 to $10,000, and you're getting such a huge account, right? So what was happening is that I was funding that $5,000, and if I blow it, I lose the $5,000, right? So I decided, why not fund the $5,000, and there's a possibility that I can trade with so much more. And of course, when I first started and I first took a few FCMO challenges, I failed dismally because like you have to plan your risk and everything accordingly. So I went without any trial, just bought an account and failed. And then I'm like, no, there is potential in this, but I just need to go about it the right way. As much as I understand the market, there's more to it in terms of risk management and stuff like that. So I think that also really helped me with the prop firms, because it helped me manage the risk much better. So yeah, that's what really helped, because I was withdrawing from there, and of course, it was helping me fund my personal accounts.
And what were the how many times did you fail on these accounts?
The first one, I think I failed about 3 times before I passed my first FTMO challenge.
Right. And were you improving every time that you were getting closer, or?
So the first time I failed, it was terrible, right? Because I don't even understand the rules correctly. I just know, okay, cool, I can trade, I can read the markets, let me just buy this challenge, I'll pass. So even though my trades would be correct, with prop firms, to a drawdown, if it goes below the daily loss, you lose the account. So I don't know that. So the first one, I think I failed like that. The second
seriously? To what, too many positions open, was it, or?
No. I
risk too much.
I'm very aggressive, yeah. So the drawdown went to the I don't know, went to profit, and I thought, I know I've got this. Then I log on to FTMO and I see that I've called them, no, this is incorrect. And then they're like, no, you didn't read the rules and stuff like that. So that's when I learned the lesson of that day. Then thereafter, what had happened was I would risk too much per trade, trying to pass it very fast. So like I'd risk, if the daily loss was 5%, I'd risk 4% on a trade, trying to pass this today.
Right.
And then, just trying to rush the process. Yeah. So all those failures, eventually, like, it clicked, okay, risk so much, this is what we're doing. And then now it's not that difficult.
And so what was your eventual risk? What did you risk in the end, and how long did it take you to pass?
So now when we risk, I tell my students and myself to risk 1% or 0.5%. That way, even if it's like 3 losses, you're only 3% down. Psychologically, it doesn't kill you. Do you know what I mean? Opposed to now risking like 2%, then now you're 6% down. You only have 4% to play with. And the market will do what the market wants to do. As much as our technical analysis is there, everything is lining up. It's not guaranteed. So a few losses in a row can definitely affect how you your upcoming trades. You know what I mean? So, for example, if you 6% down, you want the 6% so much. When the market's giving you 4%, you don't even want to take out that 4% because you're trying so hard to get that 6% back. So now I'm trying to we risk half or 1%. So even with 3 losses, it's only 3%. With a risk and reward of 1:3, our next trade that we get correct will definitely eat up those losses and we're back in break even.
Tired of missing trades or spending hours at the charts? Introducing my Robot Builders Club. With our platform, you can build bots in minutes, not weeks, without any coding required. Get lifetime access to my video course, VIP community, and over 40 ready-made robots. Works with MT4 or MT5, and as a bonus, you'll get 3 months access to my robot lab, where we build and test bots on live calls every week. Join the hundreds of traders who are trading smarter, not harder. Click the link in the description to learn more, get the free training, and download a free robot.
Yeah. So your typical risk rewards are 1 to 3?
Typical minimum will be 1:3. With US30, when I'm scalping and stuff, it's slightly more. But yeah, with currency pairs and stuff, and even with US30, it's minimum 1:3. Minimum 1:3.
And
it doesn't make sense to the trade.
And do you trade all the currency pairs in any other markets other than those in USD?
I prefer trading USD pairs. I like GBP pairs. But I don't like to say that I only focus on that there, because a lot of the times my pairs that I genuinely like are not giving me trading opportunities. So of course they are my go-to. If I don't find an opportunity there, I won't force a trade. And then I'll try and break rules just to try and get into the market. No, I'd rather go look at another pair that's giving me beautiful structure and all my confluences are lining up and trade that.
And so if you had to sort of look at a week of trading, I suppose you factoring in the swing stuff and the scalping, what would you say your win rate sits around?
Win rate is very hard to determine based on what would you regard a win rate. For example, if I'm taking a trade of 1:4 risk and reward, right, and the trade goes 1:3 and reverses, will that be regarded as a loss or win or break even? So I don't like to say my win rate is really high, but majority of the time I do get a 1:1, which I can put my stop loss at break even and let the trade run. But I'm not focused too much on how many times I win. I'm not focused on that. I just let the numbers play out in my favor.
Right. Okay. And what does your typical trading day look like?
So I wake up about 8:30. Wake up at 8:30, have a look at the market, just speak to my students. If they have any queries, we set up meetings for the day. And 10 o'clock is when we have London open. So I try to see if there's any opportunity on US30 there. If there is, I send a signal out. If there's not, I just wait it out. So New York session or in between. I then go to gym thereafter around about 12. It's either 11 or 12, go to gym. Then I come back and just continue with lessons and looking out for any opportunities in the market.
Right. Okay. And what about, do you let trades run overnight, and how do you manage them if they do?
I do let trades run overnight if it's currency pairs. With US30, I prefer just to scalp. So just getting like 1,000 pips, which is like about 100 points or so. And I'm out, because risk and reward, we're only risking about 20 points, which is 200 pips. So it's like a 1:5. So I don't leave those overnight because it can be.
Okay, so you'll close it off before the night comes, and you're done. Yeah, you're in there. That's pretty good. And so with the scalping, how did you get to the point where you felt confident scalping US30, and of all the markets, why was it that one?
So South African traders, we are very aggressive traders, right? So you'll find a lot of our traders, it's all about flipping accounts and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And we're able, with our brokers, because our leverage is so high, we're able to take a small amount and times it by a good couple of amounts. So there's a lot of opportunity there. So I just sat on the charts, tried my best to come up with a strategy that enables me to scalp US30 and get very tight stop losses with a good reward as well.
And so what was the, I mean, out of, if you had to suppose take the stuff you're doing on the higher timeframes and look at comparing it to your scalping strategy on US 30, how similar are they in nature?
So everything is regarded on my higher time frames. So I'll still look at price action on my higher time frames. Start off there. I'll start off there. It's just that US 30 is so fast. So even if price is bullish and price is retracing, you can take advantage of that retracement. But overall, like if I'm leaving a trade to run much longer than I would usually, I try to keep it in direction of what the higher time frame is doing.
Okay. All right. So it sounds like you are using the skills you've got, but you've just getting in a lower time frame.
Yeah, 100%.
With a tighter stop. Okay, yeah, that's cool. And would that scalping approach work on the currency pairs that you trade?
It would, but I prefer currencies for me is my bread and butter. So that's my main. The most important thing that I trade is my currency pairs. Of course, I mostly post US 30 because of course people love that. But with my currency pairs, I try to be as disciplined as possible. So I don't want to try and jump in. If I want to scalp, I'll go to US 30.
Yeah. So that's your baby for the scalping.
Yeah.
What about if you think back to like the beginning and how you progressed? What made you different from other traders out there who, it takes much longer for them to get to the point where they're consistent? What do you think made you different?
That's a good question because a lot of friends started with me as well in this journey. And I think the only difference between myself and them is that I never gave up. I never ever gave up because I knew what was capable if I get it right. So I wouldn't let losses get me down. Another important thing, there's a lot of times where people don't have money to fund an account. And it's a normal thing, I understand. But a lot of the times people are only looking at the charts when they have money to fund an account. When they have money in the account to trade. Right. So that's a very big problem. With me, there's times I didn't have money to fund an account for months. Right? I had bills to pay, I had stuff to do. But I still sat on the chart consistently as if I'm willing, like I'm going to take a trade now. So people usually only look at the charts when they have money to fund. So you'll find around payday, everyone's on the charts. When they blow the account, no one's talking about Forex. Payday again, they're on the charts.
Right.
So in between, they should, stick on the charts, do work. So when it does come to payday, you know exactly what to do when those funds come in. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's a very big factor.
Yeah, how things have changed. It used to be payday and everyone's out in the town. Now it's payday and you're on the charts. Right. So I suppose if you and you probably do this with your own students, if you had to sort of give a step-by-step approach for somebody looking to get to the point where you are, what would that be?
I think find someone that is trustworthy. Find someone who's trustworthy who's going to invest time in you. With social media, there's a lot of things that are not real out there. When I say not real, it's just based on marketing, which is a sad reality. Not everyone has a skill set that they say they have, but based on the lifestyle they portray, you'd invest your money with them. But try and find a person that you believe, you trust, and you're not just taking it at face value just because this person is driving this car. Of course, he posted this amount of money, let me just join them. You know what I mean? Try and focus on the skill alone. And you should see results.
Cool. And what about like a price chart? You've mentioned a few indicators and, I don't know if you call them indicators like the Fibonacci levels, but you've mentioned those support resistance. What three things would you recommend somebody go away and spend their time mastering?
I think the most important step, and when we go over the charts, I'll show you as well. The most important step is structure. I think structure is very important. Identifying what is noise and what is proper structure. I think if you can identify structure and you trade with the market direction, your probability of getting trades right is much higher. For myself, I'm not saying it's the only way to trade, but for myself, I stay away from indicators. Indicators do not work for me. I'm not saying they don't work. They just don't work for me. So I'd stay away from indicators. and just look at pure price action. So yeah, that would be the second thing. And the third thing is your risk and reward. Don't get too attached emotionally to a trade. If a trade goes incorrectly, the trade went incorrectly. Doesn't mean you can't trade, doesn't mean it's not working. The market did what the market needs to do. It went against you. You go back, you see all your confidence lined up. Would you see, and if you see that again when you take the trade, if yes, then it's fine. Don't get too attached to a trade. Oh, it never worked now. It never worked. Let me change my strategy. So that jumping from strategy to strategy, no, it doesn't work.
Okay, cool. Now, what about a trader's mindset? And like, it seems like your mindset was sort of, seemed to be in the right space at the start. You made mistakes, you learned, you adapted. I mean, what steps do you give your students, for example, to get over mindset hurdles?
It sounds like that.
Yeah, it does sound like it. Wasn't the case.
It wasn't like it wasn't like there's a lot of stuff like day in, day out. You do the wrong thing, you know what you're doing wrong, but you're just hoping that the next time will be better. So it's only when you really like, you know what, I'm not going to be attached. Because a lot of the times I would see a trade and I'd hate being wrong. So I just hold. If the trade is going against me, structure's broken, holding. So as much as it sounds like it was just an overnight thing, no, it was not. There's a lot of things that you have to go through alone as a trader. But the main thing for me is I never give up.
Yeah, it's such the whole thing is just so, it is such a mindset game, right? Because and then it's almost like you need to have enough, go through enough of the pain to then decide to change your ways and go, okay, 100%. Right, well, I've done that enough times. I now know I'm not going to do that, and I'm just going to whatever, take profit, etc. Have you got any hacks that, like, either you used or you teach around mindset, little tricks
around mindset? I try to listen to like podcasts, motivational videos. I try to encourage my team on a daily basis, like not to like overtrade. Overtrading is a very huge problem on both sides. Sometimes you make a lot of money and you just want to continue, and that could lead to losses. And then sometimes you can be in a loss and you're overtrade trying to catch up, and you can lead you deeper into losses. So it's just a continuous learning game. We continue trying to improve, get our emotions right and stuff like that. It's not easy, even up to now. It's not easy. There's times where I find myself overtrading at times, but I have to just step back and say, okay, I can see myself falling into this trap. Let me go do something else. So yeah, it's
especially with the scalping.
Yeah, I don't think it'll ever end. It's just that we have to just be aware of what's happening. Sorry, but we just have to be aware of what's happening, and just take it from there.
Cool. And what about if there was one thing you had to recommend for somebody to go away and master over the next month? What would it be?
Price action, in particular, structure. Master structure. Structure is very, very important. For me, once I identified structure, I saw a huge difference in my trading. A huge difference.
And what was that in particular around structure?
So basically, how like price is moving, higher highs, higher lows, lower lows, lower highs. I think that's extremely important, because before, like now when I trade with a market structure. That's if price is making lower lows and lower highs, I'm looking out for sells. But when I was learning and still trying to figure everything out, I would ignore structure and then look at, okay, cool, I see it's on a support. It's on a psychological level. Let me buy. And I wouldn't understand why was price breaking this, because I saw it respected for a while. Why is it now, as soon as I enter, it's going right through the support? Yeah. And it's based on overall the market structure was bearish. So momentum was pushing down. So you always want to swim with the momentum. You don't want to go against it. Swim with the tide. So I think that was a very, very important thing for me.
It's funny how that is just, it's almost like the strongest indicator is the trend, right? The structure 100%. Is the strongest indicator of what's going on over and above everything else. And if you're going against it, then you're almost but like, sometimes you're always at a hiding to none. Now,
And
one question before we jump into the quick fire round I want to ask was, so you seem to have quite an entrepreneurial bent. You left university, you went to a job straight away, you decided to start up a logistics company, which seems like, for most average people, probably quite a ridiculous feat, because it seems like there's a lot of investment in trucks and so on and so forth. And then you still transition to Forex from that. I mean, how did that sort of entrepreneurial bent, where did it come from, first of all, if you know that, and how did it help you?
So yeah, with that, as I said, my story is not the same. Like a lot of people got rags to riches stories. No, for me it wasn't that, right? Without Forex, I wouldn't say successful, but I was doing okay without that, right? So it wasn't my last resort to come trade Forex. No, it wasn't that. I saw the potential, I saw the opportunity, and I left everything else for this. It wasn't that I had no other choice. No, I chose this. I chose this lifestyle. I sold up everything. I left my qualifications and stuff, which I do have, but I mean, I didn't do anything because I saw how fruitful this can be. And I think I've just always been hungry. I just always wanted the best in life, and I've always been that way. And I believe that there's no other industry that can give you what Forex can give us. I strongly do believe it. To make $2,000, $3,000 a day, that's not normal. People wake up in the morning, they go to work, they have to attend meetings, which is fine. That's what they chose. But I mean, it's not normal to sit in your bed and then take a trade and make that amount of money. So yeah, that's why I invested everything I have into this.
Right. So you saw the potential early on. And I've got to say, it is a big gamble in terms of, like, you'd set up this other company, you decided to jack it in and not even bother with the degree, really. So, I mean, did you have anyone like sort of against you, or like family members going, what are you doing?
Of course, everyone is. I wouldn't say they're against. It's just that they're in disbelief.
Right.
Like, no, you can still do this, but do it part-time. Why don't you do this on the side? And for me, it wasn't like that, because if I do something, I must do it wholeheartedly, or I mustn't do it at all. So it's either I make it in this, or I die trying. And that's the mentality.
And given that, I mean, from my point of view, I would have thought you would have had some quite emotional days along the journey when it wasn't working for you. Was that the case?
Definitely. Most definitely. But as I said, I saw what it can do for me, right? So I didn't, of course, it'll be down for a day or two, but I just got back up and started climbing. You'll only fail if you give up. You can't fail if you don't give up.
And were there any points where you were close to giving up, or like where you're just throwing keyboards through the screen or anything like that?
Too many times I was close to giving up, and then I was like, because remember, people around me were like, why don't you do it part-time? Why don't you do it like this? And then I just had a bad day in the market. You know what I mean? And there's times where I'm like, yeah, let me just create a CV, but I just never ended up giving up. I just believe so much in.
Awesome.
Yeah,
that's fantastic. All right, we'll jump into the quick fire round and then wrap things up here. So start off with, how long did it take you to go from newbie to consistently profitable?
It's hard to say because of all the prior things I went to. But from when I started buying courses and to being profitable, I'd say about 7-8 months.
What's your favorite entry setup?
When I get 5 of my confluences that all line up.
What strategies do you use to exit or manage your trades?
I use 1:1, break even, previous high or low, depending if I'm going to buy or sell, to take out partial profits, and I leave the rest to run another psychological level.
Do you have a recommended trading book or resource?
I have, the only book I've read is the Candlestick Bible.
Okay. My last guest said the same one, funnily enough. What about your preferred broker and trading platform?
I choose FTMO, even though it's a prop firm. I think they're very reputable, very reliable.
Folks, I'm excited to tell you about my new sponsor, Black Bull Markets. They are based here in New Zealand, and they're a New Zealand regulated broker who offers up to 500 to 1 leverage and over 26,000 tradable instruments. You can trade Forex, shares, commodities, indices, crypto, and they're an award-winning brokerage firm here in Asia Pacific with dedicated 24/7 client support and no minimum deposit. To trade with Black Bull Markets today, click the link in the description below or in the card above. MetaTrader 4 or 5?
4.
Do you want to walk us through your worst ever trade?
Worst ever trade was GJ, price broke structure. I refused to be wrong. I just started depositing more money while the trade was running, and I lost about, I think it was $15,000 or so.
Jeez. Now, last question. If you could leave our listeners with one piece of advice, what would it be?
Get a mentor.
Get a mentor. Okay, there you go, folks. Now, before we wrap up, what's the best way for the traders to get hold of you?
They can DM me on Instagram at Marcelino, MARCELLINO_FX.
Brilliant. Well, look, a big thank you to Marcelino for sharing with us today everything we've discussed here. Along with all those links are in the show notes. To find him, simply search for Marcelino in the search box on tradingnut.com. And the spelling is what he just said before. Until next time, I wish all my listeners trading happiness and success. All right, folks, interview done and dusted with Marcelino FX. Now, remember, we did shoot a video after the show. You've got to go and check it out. Really simple way he trades. You're going to see 3 trade examples in there. And also, whilst you're clicking around, make sure you check out the new sponsor, Black Bull Markets, as well. Go and pay them a visit. All right, folks, enough from me. We'll see you in the next episode.